Jazakallah khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. And good afternoon to all these distinguished guests and everybody from the wider society who have taken time out to come today. Okay, today I've come on short notice, and they say pressure makes you work better. Unfortunately, Dr. Fiyaz was supposed to be here. He couldn't come, so I'm here filling in. Now, last night when I was thinking about this, when I was told I have to do this, I was looking at this, a mercy for diversity. And in Islam, our differing, I wondered, is that a mercy? That differing isn't a mercy, but at the same time, our faith teaches us to have a belief, and our belief should be a belief which we hold steadfast to and believe strongly. So how does that fit in with understanding the wider society who may differ with our beliefs? And that understanding the wider society is where the test comes in. The test where can we show mutual respect? Can we show that we know how to deal with conflict resolution? We know how to be fair and just to all. And we know how to help our neighbours. So that's where the test lies. Can we accept people for what they are? And can we live with people who are very different in their faiths, or maybe no faiths? That's the test. And Allah going to test us in this, and He tested those before us. And the prophets were tested far harder and far vigorous, peace be upon them all, than we are. And I had a look for some hadith around this. And our messenger, our beloved messenger, peace be upon him, mentioned, none of you are believers if you eat your fill while your neighbour goes hungry. A Sahaba, radiyallahu anhu, may Allah be pleased with them, said, I feared that the messenger would add the neighbour into inheritance, because he's always talking about the rights of the neighbour. And when we read Islam, we can get a principle from Islam which is possibly different from the West. The West have a Bill of Rights. We have Muslims have a Bill of Responsibilities. And that's a key difference which we need to remember. Now, knowing this, a Bill of Responsibilities, in Luton, a town where there's possibly 15 mosques and many different schools of thought, how do we bring harmony, number one, amongst ourselves, and cohesion amongst ourselves? Because there's many issues which we have to deal with within the wider community. And in the last 7 years, a forum I've been sitting on, which is the Luton Council of Mosques, has been helping to bridge those gaps between mosques, getting mosques to talk. And this is very, very important in the wider society. And those of you in Luton should encourage your mosques to take part in this. Those of you out of Luton should look at this as best practice to bring into your towns. So mosques should be talking. This is around 9 mosques are actively involved, and many issues in the community have been spoken about and have been resolved through this forum. So cohesion starts by talking. Luton in Harmony, which is a project set up by the council, will start by people coming together and talking. Today I've come to mainly talk about what's happening in Luton. The respectful sheikhs will talk to you about maybe the principles of Islam, but I'm here to speak to you about Luton and the work we're doing in Luton. Muslims have been in England for around 40 years now. Had the big Windrush came and started to work in the mills, and has communities got more established and more money came into the Muslim communities, we start building mosques. And like I mentioned, Luton has 15 mosques now. This tradition, I hope, will come to not to a stop, but slow down with our new generations. Because now it's time to invest in our people, not in the buildings. Allah didn't send down messengers to build Taj Mahals. He sent down messengers to build people. And when I look at other communities, like maybe the Christian community, I see many youth workers from the Christian community, possibly about 40. Maybe Peter can give me a more exact figure on that. And when I look at how many youth workers, full-time, are amongst the Muslims, which are using faith to bring positive change in young people, I only know of one. So we need to look at what we're doing with our money, our time and our resources. There's a lot of work which needs to happen. And the work isn't within bricks and mortar. The work is within the hearts and in the minds of young people. Our youth are our future, and this is something we all need to take an active part in. And part of cohesion is justice. You cannot have a cohesive society without justice. And this is something Muslims in Luton and around the country need to really think about, because this is food for thought. Culturally, we've been sticking up for each other no matter what. And this has worked against us, because the story of Dawood al-Islam in the Quran, when the angels came disguised as men, and one said, he has 99 sheep, I have one. And he's taken that one off me. And Dawood, being a bit preemptive, said, well, give him his sheep back then. As he said that, he prostrated on the ground. He knew he had wronged somebody. He didn't get both sides of the story. And sometimes the persecuted are not always right. It may be hard to accept that, but that is a fact as well. So when we see Muslims being unjust, and there's many Muslims we know, they may go to the Poppy Day parade and say disparaging things. They may say disparaging things against soldiers in front of people's mums. They're even organising on the 29th of April an anti-war protest, a march against the royal family outside the church where the prince is getting married. It's time we made a stand. If we remain quiet towards this, it will only be a backlash on us, where people who can't deal with their own problems, where people who are not just, where people who even side with them. So it's time to make a stand. It's time to speak to these individuals who are doing these antis. It's time to put a stop to this, yeah? So, and out of these extreme behaviours, out of these antis which we see many people performing, this has become a catalyst which the right wing have capitalised on. And they've capitalised on this. So there's a big responsibility now on Muslims to go to the average person who reads the stars, the sun, and listens to the BNP. Turn up to the estates where you're finding the BNP working very, very actively, or the EDL working very, very actively, and speak to these people about what Muslims really stand for. Speak to the media. Don't be afraid, because the extremists are not afraid to speak to the media. I remember listening to Umar Bakri Mohammed once. He said, if I was a non-Muslim, I would have worked for Saatchi and Saatchi. You know? So these people are very media savvy. And the media hooks onto this. And then they become the voice piece for Islam. Every one of you in this room is better qualified than them to speak about Islam. So please, our silence has become a way of accepting them. There's no other way but now speak out against them and to stop these antis they keep on performing. One of the things in Luton which has been positive is a website, a forum set up by one of the mosques. You can Google it if you put in answering_EDL. And EDL people come on there who know nothing about Islam, and Muslims will myth bust some of their concepts they have, or what they've heard from maybe friends, or what they heard in the pub, So this work is very, very important. Every one of you has a responsibility to. It's not about now giving dawah and converting them. It's about neutralizing people, neutralizing this anti-hatred against Islam. Now, I'm sure most of you have come here to listen to people far more qualified than me. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of advice, and more importantly, tell you about what's happening in Luton and be involved in Luton. Yeah? Please go back to your mosques and ask your mosques to get involved in Luton Council of Mosques. Get involved in the forums. Get involved in organisations which are speaking out against racism. Get yourself involved in all forms of projects which Luton in Harmony is holding. Generally, they are in the newspapers. The more we're involved in, the less the extremists from the right wing and from the Muslims will be able to do. And Jazakallah khairan, and inshallah, may Allah bless you all.